So at this point in time, in this coronavirus crisis that's happening around the world, I see so many people out there wanting to boost their immune system. And now, you know, there's been immune boosting foods, there's been immune boosting supplements, and in fact, even the chemists, you know, people are flocking to chemists to buy supplements and things that are really going to, that people think that are going to help them ward off any nasties or bugs or the coronavirus, you know, out there. And it's kind of like a topic for debate, really, isn't it, Delia? Because, you know, there's so many myths around this, and so many opinions and so many beliefs. So I just really wanted to touch on this topic today, Delia, because you're such an expert when it comes to the brain and nutrition and supplementation. So can you just, you know, share with us your point of view around this? That'd be great.
Okay, Lynn, thank you. It's a very contentious subject because people seem to believe that they can boost their immune system. And as I've just explained, you know, in the other little clip, is that the immune system is part of our whole body. It's not separate to the whole body. So the time to look after your immune system is way before there's a bug on the horizon, simply because our immune system functions in concert with our central nervous system and our endocrine system and all the other systems that operate in our body. So there is not one specific nutrient that you can take to boost your immune system. What you can do is make sure your immune system functions optimally with a whole lot of lifestyle choices. And one of those is a healthy diet. And that healthy diet supports brain function, it supports body function, and it supports immune function, surprisingly. So there's a very little research to support specific nutrients for immune function. And the reason for that is simply that it's very, very hard to do research on this topic, because everybody has a unique physiology. Everybody has a unique genetic background. Everybody is at a certain age, and including gender. Everybody has a certain health profile to start with. So when you start introducing specific nutrients into a person's diet, it also depends on what their baseline is for that nutrient and also what their present diet is. So when you take all of those factors into account, you can see that to run this kind of research is extremely, extremely expensive. So what a lot of researchers do, they use what we call animal studies. So they check them first to see how rats and rodents behave with them. Rats or rodents, how they behave with these nutrients. And they sometimes do tests just in the laboratory using cells. The challenge with those tests is that they do not necessarily extrapolate to human beings because of all of our complexity and all the variables that I mentioned. So there has been some research done on immune boosting foods like antioxidants, for example, foods that contain vitamin C. The results are mixed. Some people say yes, some researchers have had positive results, some have had negative results, the same as with zinc. Although zinc does seem to have a pretty robust evidence base, but not to stop you necessarily getting the bug, it's to lessen the duration of the bug. The challenge with vitamin C supplementation is that vitamin C is a water-soluble nutrient. So you take it, you put the lid out. How long is it staying in your body for? That's a huge question. And I've got a book that I've actually read about that, and they say that it needs to stay in your body for as long as possible. And you only get that to be the case if you take 500 milligrams every couple of hours. Now, what kind of vitamin C do you use again? So that's the next question. So these are all huge questions, and we don't have any answers. So I would suggest that people do the best they can to eat the most nutrient-dense diet that they can. The foods that they eat should provide the primary source of their nutrient intake. If they're buying immune-boosting supplements, you don't even know whether they're going to work, so they could very likely rather save their money and spend it instead on fresh food. That is definitely first principle. Focus on that. If they want to buy a supplement, it should primarily be in powder form. And then after that capsule, and then after that tablet, because powders are best absorbed by the body, capsules secondly best absorbed, third tablets not so great because they have got all sorts of things mixed into them so that the machines that create them don't get stuck. Yeah. So they've got all sorts of mixing aids, and that I don't think is supportive.
And what about the gut, Delia? Because we all know that the gut is the second brain. So what about fortifying the gut, you know, like a good probiotic or something like that?
Well, the first thing about the gut is it's our major immunity center. So when we consume any pathogen or we consume anything, it goes straight to our gut, and our gut will get rid of it if it's in good shape. And so looking after our gut is an extremely important thing to do. And it is definitely our second brain via our vagus nerve. And our vagus nerve is called vagus for Latin, which means wandering. And 80% of its communication is to the brain versus 20% from the brain to the digestive system. So we know the digestive system plays a very important role. And that's to do with all the bacteria that live there. So the most important thing is to eat prebiotic foods. And these are foods that feed the good bacteria. So prebiotic foods are much better than just taking probiotics, because prebiotics come with fiber and all sorts of other nutrients that support all the good bacteria so that they can proliferate. When we're under stress, our gut bacteria shifts, it changes, and we actually start craving more processed carbohydrate-rich foods and sugary foods, and then those bacteria start proliferating, and when they proliferate, our gut bacteria changes. So when we're stressed, it's even more important to eat high fiber foods with a lot of nutrients in them, and prebiotic foods to support that. That being said, probiotics have been shown to be effective in some cases. Once again, I think it depends on the age of the person. I think it depends on their general health and well-being and on what their gut looks like at present. But what I suggest with probiotics is that you open it up, put it under your tongue after a meal, so that you're getting those good bacteria all the way down your whole digestive tract, which starts in your mouth. That's an important point to keep in mind.
Interesting. That is really, really good advice. So, okay, so just to recap, lifestyle choices as far as, rather than go out and spend a whole lot of unnecessary money on vitamin C and all those supplements and everything else like that to try and boost, let's get some really colourful fresh veggies and fruit into our system, fortify our gut with some prebiotic foods, and if we are going to take some probiotics, make sure that it's in powder form and put it under the tongue. Wow, I've learned something today, Delia, just on that one. So that's fantastic.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Lynn, just want to also add, magnesium-rich foods are extremely important, because magnesium is used to handle our stress response, and that is green foods. So if people want to buy a green powder to supplement their diet with, I don't know of any evidence base to support that, but I do that because I know that it contains a lot of magnesium. And if they can find a vitamin C supplement that is also derived from nature, that is also something that they can take. But just remember, as close to nature as possible. That is the best option.
Perfect. Thanks, Delia. Appreciate that.
Pleasure.